Suppose 11. Suppose that electricity producers create a negative externality equal to $6 per unit. Further, suppose that the government imposes an $8 per unit tax on the producers. What is the relationship between the after-tax equilibrium quantity and the socially optimal quantity of electricity to be produced? Well, what's happened in this market is that we've actually overtaxed because we misjudged the size of the externality. So here, you remember your demand is your private value. And supply is just your private cost. And the externality is equal to $6 per unit. So then that means our social costs are up above the private cost everywhere by $6. Right? We've just shifted this curve up everywhere by $6. So then the distance between these two curves, between the old one and the new one, would be $6, which is why we would like to tax at $6. That's our preferred Pigouvian tax to correct this negative externality. However, our question is saying, well, what happens if we put in a tax of $8 per unit? Well, that means it's going to be to the left somewhere here of this $6 tax, where this is going to be now a size of 8. And specifically, it's asking us about quantities. Well, this is the quantity after tax. And this little red guy is going to be our socially optimal. And of course, we have our equilibrium quantity as usual. All right, well, the optimal quantity of electricity to be produced, socially optimal in the after-tax quantity. Well, the socially optimal quantity is greater than the after-tax quantity, so let's go ahead and look for that answer. The after-tax equilibrium quantity is greater than the socially optimal? No. They're not equal. The after-tax equilibrium quantity is less than the socially optimal. Boom, done. Question 12. Consider the city of Widgetopolis with only 4 residents, John, James, Mary, and Lydia. 4 residents are trying to determine how many hours to spend in cleaning up the public lake. The table below shows each resident's willingness to pay for each hour of cleaning. Suppose the cost of cleaning the lake is $40 per hour, and that the residents have agreed to split the cost of cleaning the lake equally. If the residents vote to determine the number of hours spent cleaning the lake, basing their decision solely on what maximizes their own surplus, what is the most number of hours which all 4 residents would vote yes? So then it's $40, but they're going to split it equally. So then it's 40 divided by 4, which is equal to 10. So then we need to look for all of the values here which are greater than 10. But they're going to go ahead and vote, right? And the only way they're going to get that vote is if every single one of them votes yes. So this is greater than 10, greater than 10, greater than 10, greater than 10. The second hour, John's is greater than 10, James is greater than 10, Mary is greater than 10, and Lydia's is not. So then we're just going to stop at 1 hour. Okay. Question 13. So first of all, there are just a few things we should note before I move on to answering the question. The social cost being higher means this is a negative externality. The social value being higher means that panel C is a positive externality. And we want to subsidize positive externalities. And we want to tax negative externalities. Okay. Panel A is just a market in equilibrium. Which of the following is correct? A tax would move the market in panel B and the market in panel C closer to the optimal. No, because panel B is a negative, panel C is a positive. We want to subsidize the positive and tax the negative. A subsidy would move both of the panels closer. Nope. A tax would move panel B closer to the socially optimal. Good. But a subsidy would move panel C closer to socially optimal. Fantastic. Moving on. A subsidy would move the market in panel B closer to socially optimal, but a tax would move the market to panel C. No. The answer is C. 14. Suppose that flu shots create a positive externality equal to $8 per shot. Further, suppose that they offer a $6 subsidy to the producers. What is the relationship between the equilibrium and the socially optimal? Well, just like in the tax one, when we overtax, we overshoot, which means our quantity is lower. Here we're going to under-subsidize, which means we're giving only $6 when we should be giving $8, which means the equilibrium quantity is less than the socially optimal quantity still, because we would need to subsidize at least $8. 15. Which of the following is the advantage of tradable pollution permits? Each firm is allowed to pollute exactly the same amount? No. Revenue from the sale is greater than revenue from a corrective tax? No. The initial allocation of permits to firms does not affect the efficiency of the market? Correct. No matter who we give those permits to, those firms are always going to sell them to the people who are going to pay most, who have the highest cost of reducing their pollution, which means no matter who we give the permits to, the people who are willing to pay the most for them are going to get them at the end of the day.